Hello, Sumit. How are you all doing today? Hope great. I welcome you to yet another episode with Gifted Hands Fashion House. Today we have this work to make. I'll be teaching you how to make this dress, just exactly what you are seeing right now. So we'll be making it with this fabric. We'll use this fabric to make it. It's a crepe material. I'm using 2 yards of this with my ankara fabric. This is the fabric I will use to combine. As you can see here, I've already cut out the upper part. It's a half length dress. So this upper part will be used for my half length. And I want to make a double cutting method. Double cutting means you are cutting the front and the back together. So I have the upper part already cut out. We'll be taking the measurements together. But before that, I I have folded my upper part. From my upper part, the biggest measurement there is my bust. My bust is the biggest part of my upper bodies. So I'm working with a bust of 44. If you divide 44 by 4, you have 11. And then I'm adding about 3 inches seam allowance. You can add 2, you can add 3. Depends how much you can manage your fabric. So I added 3 to my own to get 14. Now, this is for the width or the fold of my dress. I folded it with 14. That is my bust divided by 4 plus 2 to 3 inches seam allowance. And then for the length of my fabric, I'm working with 17 inches. My half length is 17 plus 1 inch seam allowance. So that's how I came about this. Then what you are seeing here, we have two fabrics. This is for the front and this one here is for the back. For the back, I left my zip allowance. You can use zip allowance of 1 inch or 1.5. I used 1.25 here. So that's all for what you have here right now. We'll move to the next stage, which is taking the vertical measurement. I'm going to start from my shoulder. This is my shoulder line. I'm starting from my shoulder line, and I'm working with a chest line of 9 inches. Your chest line can be 9, can be 8, can be 7. You use 9 if you are big or you're fat, use 8 if you're medium or average, and then use 7 if you're small or petite. So I'm using 9. This is my 9 inches for my chest line. You don't need to measure it, you just use your discretion to know your chest line. Then from there, I'll move to my underbust. I'm working with an underbust. I'm working with an underbust of 14 inches. Here's it. And then the half length of 17 plus seam allowance. So I'm going to connect the lines I have here. This is my chest line. Chest line, underbust, and half length seam allowance. Now the next measurement, I'll be taking my shoulder measurement. To take my shoulder, I'm going to start from this edge, not this one, from here. I'll place my tape like this, and then I'll work out my shoulder. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2, 8 plus half, 8.5. This is 8.5 here. And then down here, I'll also measure 8.5 so that I can get a straight line. This is 8.5. I'll connect the line now. So here's my shoulder line. get my shoulder line, and this shoulder line is going to give me my sorry, this is my shoulder line, and then this line I marked is my armhole line. Now this is my armhole line. The next thing I'll do, I need to work out my armhole. To do that, the front armhole differs from the back armhole, but before that I'll mark about 1.5 inches to 2 inches here, so that I can be able to connect this armhole, just so that I can connect it properly. Now, this armhole will serve for the back part. Now, to get the front armhole, I'll get my 9 inches, which is this line here, divide by 2, 4.5. I'll add half an inch to it to get 5. And then I'll take from this back part, I'm going to measure 0.75. You can measure 0.5 if you are slim. Sorry, this is 0.75. Now, having done this, I'm going to reconnect my armhole. Reconnecting this armhole means I need to get my front armhole. This one is for the back. So to get my front armhole, I'll simply do it like this and connect it to this 0.7 here, 0.75, and then reconnect it to this point. Okay, so this now becomes my back armhole. From this point like this, it's my back armhole. But from this point like this, it's my front armhole. The next thing I'll do, I need to take my neck line. To do that, I can use 3 inches or 3.5. Let me go for 3.5. And I'll be working with a neck depth of I'll be working with a neck depth of 1.5, but by the time I'm done sewing it, it will go down to 2 inches. I want it high. So this is my front neck. And then for the back, I'm going to use 1.5 inches. Sorry, for the back, I'll use 1 inch. By the time I'm done sewing it, it will go down to 1.5 as well. I need to get my shoulder slants here. So I'm going to use 1 inch for my shoulder slant, and then I'll connect it. So I'm done with this upper part. From there now, I'm going to take my bust measurement. Our bust is 44, divided by 4, 11, plus 1 inch seam allowance for our dart, which is 12, plus 2 inches seam allowance, 14. From there, I'll take my under bust. My under bust of 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9, plus 1 inch for that, 10, plus 2 inches seam allowance, 12. And from there, I'll take my waist measurement. We are working with a waist of 39. 39 divided by 4 is 9.75. Check it. 39 divided by 4 is 9.75, plus 1 inch for that, 10.75, and then 2 inches seam allowance, you get 12.75. So we have to connect all this now. Connect from here. See how I'm connecting it to avoid sharp edges. Okay. So the next thing I'll do is to take my dart. I'm working with a nipple to nipple of 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 plus half, 4.5. So you mark 4.5 all the way. Aside that, I'm going to mark on the half length. I'm going to take half inch on both sides to get my dart, to curve my dart. So half inch both sides. And then remember, your front dart starts from 12 inches or 1 inch below your bust point. So it's either you place your tape from this shoulder point and measure 12 inches, or you get your bust point. My bust point here should be 11. 1 inch below it will still give me 12, which means my dart should start from here. I'll connect it now to this point. But remember, for the back dart, you start your back dart 1 inch below your chest line. Your back dart can start at your chest line or 1 inch below your chest line, still okay. So if the front dart is here, the back dart should start here. But I'll be doing that when I'll be sewing this work. So all I need to do now is to notch out my dart. From this point, from this dart line, I'll notch it out. So here's my dart, and that's all for the front cutting. What I'll do next is to cut out my fabric. I'll also need to mark out, this line, my zip line, and then I'll notch it out as well. So having done this, I'll cut out my work now. If you're making a double cutting method, like front and back together, if you want to cut, make sure you cut just the back part first. Cut the back part. You are cutting it together, but the back part you cut first. Just see what I'm doing now. This is for the back. I need to add my shoulder allowance before cutting. So I'll be adding my shoulder allowance. You can add half an inch. You can add 1 inch, depending. Okay, let me use half because one will be too much. So here's my shoulder allowance. You need this allowance to join your shoulder. The neck, we have two necks, the front neck and back neck. So I'll cut the back neck first. So I'm done with the back cutting. What I'll do next, I'll remove the back fabric, take away the back fabric, and I'll be left just with the front fabric. So what I need to do now, I will reshape this front fabric and cut out my front fabric proper. Okay, we are done cutting it. You can see how I did the front and cut and back cutting. So what I'll do now, I'm going to remove this back. I want to shape my zip line because I wouldn't want the zip to be puffy after fixing my zip. So I've marked my chest line. This is my chest line. I also marked my under bust, and here's my half length. I don't want the back zip to be puffy. So what I'm going to do to remove the puff, I'll mark from here the half the sorry the half length. I'll mark from the half length. I'll mark half inch on the half length, and then I'm also going to mark half inch from this end here. So what I'll do, I'll connect it like this. I'll cut off from here. Then I'll also connect like this. So I'm going to cut off from here. So when I'll be fixing my zip, it's going to be like this. I'm not taking it to this point anymore. I'll be taking my zip to this point. So when I take it from here, it's going to eliminate that puffy nature of the zip. So it's going to be like this. And this is for my zip. Now for the dart, the back dart starts 9 inches or 1 inch below the chest line. So from this, remember I have half inch here. So from here now, I'll take 9 inches, and then from here, I'll take 4.5 inches. From here, I'll take 4.5 inches and connect. Now, I'll mark half inch on both sides and connect it as well. So this is my back dart, and I think this is all for the upper part of this dress. We'll move to the lower parts now. We want to cut the lower part of this dress, and it's going to be a pencil um, dress. So this lower part will be cutting it with pencil method. I folded my fabric already, you can see it. Remember I told you I'm making a double cutting work. So this is for the front, and this one with excess allowance is for the back with my zip. So you see how I folded it into four. I folded it into four, but I left my zip allowance for the back here. I'm working with, I'll be folding this lower part with my hip measurement, and I'm working with a hip of 44. 44 divided by 4 is 11 plus 3 inches seam allowance. So I have 14, but I have 13 and a half here. I'm still okay with it. Then I have about 1.5 inch for my 1.5 inch for my zip. So let me make it 14 so it will to rhyme up with the upper part. So I have 14 here and my zip allowance. Now I'm going to take my measurement. The waist here, the waist I'll be using here should be the same waist that I used for my upper part, or the upper part of my blouse. The same waist I used is the same waist I'll be using here. So my waist for this part is 49 divide 39 divide by 4, we have 9.75 plus 3 inch. You can see where I'm placing my tape because the zip is by this side, so I'm measuring it towards this end. I won't be placing it again like this, because if I place it like this it will be very wrong. I have to do it since the zip allowance is here. So I'll place it like this, and then I'll mark 12.75 here. So we've marked our waist here, and then the next thing, I'm going to take my waistline to hip line. I'm working with a waistline to hip line of 7 inches. Waistline to hip line can be 7, can be 8, can even be 9. So on this waistline to hip line, I'll take my hip measurement. Remember, the measurement should go like this. I'm working with a hip of 44 divided by 4, 11 plus 3, 13. And then whatever I have here, I have 13. I'm going to reduce it down here. I'm going to reduce this 13 down here with 1 inch or 1.5 inch. So I'm marking 12 for my own. Now I'll connect this. I'll connect like this, and then down to this point. So this is what I have. Then for my zip area, I just have to shape this zip area. I'll shape it up, but before that, I want to make my slit here. And my slit, so I'll mark my slit. Your skirt slit or gown slit should be around 8 to 9 inches. But remember, always remember you have allowance here, because if you don't remove this allowance, it's going to make your slit to be very short. Assuming you mark your 9 inches, and then later now you fold it up. You fold up your allowance. That means your slit will come down to 7 inches. So what you need to do is that 2 inches allowance you have here, you now mark your slit of 8 inches, which means you are left with 10 inches, so that at the end of the day, when you remove that 2 inches, your 8 inches is left behind. Now what I need to do is I want to shape this straight down like this. I want to shape it up. Although I don't have enough fabric left, but I'm okay with this one here. So I'll shape this later. Now this is what I'm left with, and this will serve as um my slit for the back part. Another thing I need to do now is to cut off from this point. And I need to also take my dart, 4.5 inch on both sides. The length of your dart should be between 5 inches to 6, not more than that, because your zip will stop somewhere here. So your zip should not be shorter than your dart should not be longer than your zip. So I have it like this. I need 1/2 inch allowance up here, so I won't be cutting off everything. I'm going to notch my dart, and I'll also notch the zip allowance. So this is all for this lower part. That's what we have. The front and the back. So it's going to be like this. Then this is the zip area, and your dart comes here. So I want to make my sleeve, and it's a puff sleeve. I have about 12 inches for my puff. From this top here, I took 12 inches for my puff, and then what I'm having here left is about 11 inches. This 11 inches is for the sleeve itself. So what I'll do now, I'll use my round armhole of 9 inches. My round armhole is 9 because this fabric is on fold. If I open it, it becomes 18. So half of this 9 will give me 4.5. Here is 4.5. I'm going to mark this 4.5 1 inch below it, come down with 4.5. Then remember, I'm working with 9 inches. Now this 9, I'm going to come down with 3 inches. Here's my 3 inches. So if I have to connect this now, it's going to be like this, and then down to this 3 inches, just like this. Connect it like this to this 3 inches. And then my round armhole, I'm going to take my round armhole of Around armhole is 12 inches plus 2, 8. My round armhole is 12 inches, divided by 2 is 6. Then plus 2 is 8. That's my 8 here. Now remember the 9 inches we have, connect it to this one. I need to add allowance. I'll be adding allowance of about 2 inches. So here's my allowance of 2 inches. Now I have to cut it like this if I'm working on a shirt sleeve. But since this is not a shirt sleeve, I need to add my puff. So what I'll do, I'll just take about 3 inches up here and connect it to this one. So I'll be connecting it slanted like this before it comes here. Okay, so I'll just connect it like this so that when I cut off to this point, I'm now going to gather these ones. I'll gather it and stop here. I'll gather and stop here so that this part will now form my puff. So I'll cut it and show you. So we'll use this to make the shirt, the lower part of the puff sleeve. I'm using a width of 18 and a length of 8.5. So it's for the two sides. This one will go like this. I'll still shape it after fixing it. It's going to be like this. So the puff sleeve will be on top and this one will follow. And next is going to be a flare sleeve. So next I want to make the flare that will be at the lower side, the lower part. And I folded my fabric. I actually have two fabrics on cut here. You can see it. I want to fold for the two sides together. So I folded the first one and I'm folding the second one. That is by 4. But what I'll have here now is 8 because of the two sides. So I'm working with a round sleeve of 16. Round sleeve, round like this. Round here is 16. Divide by 6.28. I have about 2.5. So here's my 2.5. I'll mark it round. I'll mark 2.5 all the way around. And I want my sleeve, I want this circle sleeve here to be about 6.5 inches. So I'll mark 6.5 all the way around. I'm going to cut from here. And I'll also cut from here. So this will give me the round sleeve for the two sides. And this will be all for the cutting. Join us in the second part of this video where we'll be doing where we'll be stitching our work. Please, if you're with us and you've not subscribed, feel free to click on the subscribe button to join this family. Thank you.